So Wolves have completed the signing of another player, but unfortunately he's going straight out on loan to Grasshoppers. It's Dave from Talking Wolves, guys. Hopefully you are keeping well and safe. And today I'm going to be giving you the story and some information on the new signing, Jeong Sang-Bin from K-League club Suwon Blue Wings. He is going straight out on loan to Grasshopper Zurich, our sister club over in Switzerland. But in today's video, I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about the player, where the story came from, and a little bit more information from our Korean friend Sungmo Lee. But yes, Wolves have completed the signing of the 19-year-old Sang-Bin Jeong. The story initially, it's been doing the rounds for a while actually. I think there was a story towards the start of January. If you watch the transfer videos quite often, you would have known that I've brought this guy up once or twice in these videos. I think it was towards the start of January. There was a story that Wolves had initially tried to sign Sang-Bin back in the summer. And this was the original plan, to get him out on loan to Grasshopper Zurich. For some reason, the move didn't come to fruition, but Wolves have not given up. They've revisited it this January. There was a report last week that Wolves apparently were going for it. Those reports came from Korea. And yesterday, as in Friday the 28th, only about half an hour to an hour before the story broke, Alex Crook, once again from the TalkSport, had said Wolves were set to sign him. And then Wolves had announced it before 4 p.m. yesterday. So a little bit more about the player from what we've seen, what we can see. He is a forward. He plays predominantly as a winger, but can play centrally as well. I'll let Sungmo talk about that a little bit more later on in the video as well. Looking at his numbers for Suwon Blue Wings this season so far, or in the past 12 months or so, he's played 24 times, scored 6 goals and got 2 assists. So goal contribution per minute, he's getting a goal contribution every 200 minutes or so. So just over every 2 games he's getting a goal contribution. For a younger player playing out wide quite often, which isn't the worst return in the world. And of course, he's going straight out on loan to Grasshopper Zurich. Of course, a lot of people again are probably going to be moaning about this, but we've seen recently, to be fair, how this partnership can work. Obviously, Totti Gomez has come back to the club and slotted straight into the team, and some could argue already a very, very good quality squad player for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Probably in a much better place than what he was 2 years ago when Wolves first loaned him out to Grasshoppers. Of course, we've seen already this window Hayo Kawabi join the club and go back out on loan to Grasshoppers. We're going to see this with Jeong Sang-Bin. He's going out there for 18 months, so he's going to get the 6 months for the rest of this season and the entirety of next season as well. For him to come over, get used to European football and see how he can get on. But still a very young player. He's going to be over there in Switzerland till he's about 21 years of age, 22, and hopefully come back to Wolves as a player that's ready to fight for a first team place. Of course, I'll be keeping a close eye on him. He's already broken in to the South Korea setup, the national team, the first national team. He's played 1 game and got 1 goal. I believe that was in a 5-0 win over Sri Lanka as well. So already mixing it with the big boys. And this is now the 3rd South Korean player that Wolves have signed. Of course, after Hwang Hee-chan, who was announced as a permanent signing this week. And of course, back in the 2000s when the club signed Seol Ki-hyun as well, who was a very decent player for Wolves back in the day. But now we go across to the questions that I asked Sungmo, a friend of the channel. Of course, he gave us a little bit of insight when we first signed Hwang Hee-chan back in the summer. And I basically asked him very similar questions to what I asked about Hwang Hee-chan back then. So I said, Wolves have signed Sang-Bin, but what sort of player is he? What is his play style? And he said he's a nickname of the Korean Mbappe. And that pretty much explains his play style. He's fast, skillful, and also importantly, very clever. For example, he scored on his K-League debut by shooting between the defender's 2 legs in front of him. He also scored on his international debut, where he has 1 game and 1 goal so far. I also asked what his strongest positions are, and he believes he's a winger, but can also play as a second top striker. He's very versatile and very young, so I believe he could be developed for any position up front. If I add on that his position, I would say Bruno Lage is great on using and maximising wingers. He always says in press conferences that he wants to have at least 4 wingers at his club, so I believe Young's signing is great both for Wolves and Young. I also asked him about his suitability to the Premier League and if a move to the Swiss League is a good move for him right now. Sungmo replied believing he definitely has a good future in the English Premier League, but it's a wise decision for Wolves and Young as well to let him have more experience in Europe before he eventually plays for Wolves. Wolves fans have already seen 2 Korean wingers in Wolves jerseys, Seol Ki-hyun and Hwang Ki-chan. Also, Park Ji-sung from Manchester United, Song Hyung-min at Tottenham, Lee Chung-yong at Bolton and Crystal Palace were all wingers. It's proven that Korean wingers can play well in the Premier League, and Young can be the next proof for that. Also asked about his reputation in South Korea. He said he was the best young player in the K-League last season, and that's why he's regarded as the next big talent from South Korea. Korean fans are very excited to see his development at Wolves. And finally, I asked about the coverage of Wolves in South Korea over the last season, and he said there's already growing interest from South Korean fans for Wolves. Hwang's injury was the issue for Korean fans for that aspect, but with Hwang's permanent move and now Young's transfer, Wolves games will be watched more and more by Korean fans as time goes by. So a big thanks to Sungmo Lee for the insights on the brand new signing Sang-Bin Jeong, or Jeong Sang-Bin. I believe it can be spelt in 2 different ways. The first part, I think sort of across the internet, it's been spelt as J-U-N-G, but I think Wolves have spelt it as J-E-O-N-G. I asked Sungmo and he says he believes it can be spelt in either way, really. So that is more about Wolves' brand new signing. Of course, he's going across to Grasshoppers, but we will keep a close eye on him. I think the fee is in and around £1 million, so fairly risk-free deal for Wolves. But from what Sungmo has said, there is definitely potential there and definitely a player in there. And fingers crossed we can see him flourish at Grasshoppers and may well see him in a Wolves jersey sometime soon. Of course, if he does extremely well over there, Wolves have every right to bring him back to the club early, as I have done with Totti Gomez this January. Maybe next January we could see the same with this forward. As always, guys, be sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We'll be back with some more transfer update videos and the deadline day stream on Monday. So be sure to check that out. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you all very, very soon.